Hey everyone, welcome to the Formula Consulting Group. In this video, we're going to finally answer the question of how programs rank you and provide you with a comprehensive breakdown of the specific methodology top programs use to formulate their rank order list. If you've watched our previous evidence-based videos, you'll know that we developed a 10-step multi-phase strategy for matching into preferred programs. We call this strategy the formula. Before we jump into how programs rank you, let's discuss why you should care about how programs rank you. You should understand the methodology programs use to rank you because doing so allows you to customize your candidacy in ways that appeal to that methodology, which in turn increases the attractiveness of your candidacy. For those skeptical about this strategy, think about how politicians running for office do this all the time with high success rates. It's called knowing your audience. A person seeking election in a certain district researches the constituents in that area to understand which issues are important to them. If that person then customizes their candidacy to appeal to those issues, history shows that that person typically wins. Residency applicants should view their candidacy no different. The program's leadership, faculty, and residents are your audience. If you can identify what your audience is looking for in a candidate, i.e. their rank methodology, you can appeal to that criteria. And applicants who've taken the time to do this in past cycles often match with their preferred programs. Now let's discuss how exactly programs rank you. Most programs base their decision of whether to rank you or not on a 3-factor methodology consisting of factor number 1, your interview score, factor number 2, resident feedback, and factor number 3, the rank committee. So let's start with factor number 1. At the conclusion of each interview, the person who interviewed the candidate will evaluate their performance using a numerical score. The scale on which that score is attributed can vary from program to program. Some programs use a scale of 1 through 4, with 4 being the highest score, while others use a scale of 1 to 5 or even 1 to 10. The important thing to remember is that the questions a candidate receives during the interview are engineered to facilitate this grading system. Meaning the more your responses differ from your peers, the higher your score will likely be, while the more your responses sound the same, the lower your score will likely be. The average of all your scores will then be used to rank you on a preliminary basis against other candidates and their corresponding scores. Now let's move on to factor number 2. After your score is submitted to the PD, but prior to the finalization of your rank, the rank committee will collect feedback about your candidacy from residents. This feedback is often collected via a formal meeting between the program's leadership and its residents, whereby each candidate's picture is projected on a large screen and residents are asked to provide their thoughts and observations on that specific candidate. If your picture appears on the screen and residents have nothing memorable to say about your candidacy, your chances of matching will drop significantly. And that's because this meeting is designed to spotlight those who have exceeded expectations by doing the smaller things that are often overlooked. These things can include sending handwritten thank you notes, speaking up during meet and greets, engaging with residents, networking with faculty, initiating site visits, making an effort to speak with a coordinator, demonstrating leadership, thoroughly diligencing the program, and for the fortunate few who rotated through the program, their performance. Your goal should therefore be to ensure that residents have at least one positive thing they can say about you once your picture appears. Failing to achieve this may stain your candidacy as forgettable, forcing your chances of matching to depend entirely on your interview score and putting even more pressure on your performance. The feedback collected during this phase will then be used to adjust your position on the preliminary rank list that was previously established using interview scores. And finally, factor number 3. After your interview score is submitted and resident feedback is collected, those in charge of finalizing the rank order list form a committee consisting of the PD, the APDs, the chief residents, and a senior member such as the department chair. The purpose of this committee is to conduct one final comprehensive review of the pending rank list by taking into account 2 categories of information. Category number 1 is information that has likely already been considered, while category number 2 is information that has not yet been considered. The information in category number 1 was probably evaluated during the process of selecting which candidates would receive an interview, such as scores, research, signals, performance during medical school, and select sections of their ARIS application materials. While the information in category number 2 was only made available after the interview selection process concluded, or was possibly information the program felt would carry more relevancy later in the process once the pool of candidates had been narrowed, such as whether they sent a letter of intent, whether a dean, PD, or professional vouched for them by phone, how much effort they made to interact with the program, their likability and compatibility, their potential to elevate the program's reputation, and the more personal sections of the ARIS application materials, such as life experiences. In other words, category number 2 is where the extra hustle and sweat you've invested in this process should pay dividends and boost your candidacy, which is why it's important to understand the multiple ways a candidate can out-hustle their competition by using the strategies discussed in previous videos, including establishing a personal brand, generating pre- and post-interview exposure, and earning third-party validation. It's also important to remember that your fate as a candidate will be sealed at the conclusion of this committee meeting. So if you suspect your candidacy is cutting it close, any last-minute Hail Mary you were hoping to play should be deployed long before this meeting ever starts. Doing so could mean the difference between securing the last spot on the list or being cut from the team in favor of someone who outworked you. And that concludes this video. If you're preparing for residency interviews or simply want to get ahead of your competition, we strongly recommend you check out our other videos. And subscribe to our channel. If there's a question you'd like us to delve into in the future, please leave a comment below. You can learn more about our services at www.formulate2match.com and on X at formulate2match.